Hi guys, welcome to Learn Electronics Repair, and Detlef's with me today.
Yeah, the dynamic duo is back.
We certainly are, and you know what? We're going to do some cookery lessons today.
Yes.
We are.
Toasty stuff,
a bit of cooking. So, those of you who watch the channel regularly, this is a 4 terabyte, is it?
It's a Chinese 4 terabyte.
Chinese 4 terabyte SATA drive thing. Yeah, with space for 2 more chips, which will make it 8 terabytes, I believe.
Chinese 8 terabytes.
Oh, yeah. Chinese terabytes, yeah. Is that like terrible bytes?
Probably.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Okay, so this thing is faulty. The guy got it from a well-known Chinese retailer, I believe.
Yeah, there was something like that, yeah.
Or did he get it from the local phone repair shop?
No. He got it from, I think, AliExpress.
Oh, okay.
We shouldn't mention this yet.
No, we can mention this. So AliExpress he got us from, we believe, but we don't actually know. We don't know if that is true. So
yeah, and he tried to put some files on it, and then the thing crapped out. Yeah.
So it worked. He put some files on it, crapped out. Yeah. So we notice this is the drive controller. This has all been laser etched off or something. You can't read that. This is a EPROM, similar to like a BIOS chip, that type of EPROM.
Well, we're guessing that the simple logic for the thing lives in, and probably the wear level marking blocks.
Within that, yeah. And then we have the actual flash memory, or whatever you want to call it, DRAM or whatever.
Yeah,
flash memory, okay. And we have some power supplies on here. And if you watch the video I made of this, I checked all the power rails are all sensible, at least, all present. I checked the actual controller does read the BIOS. Okay, and I actually took the BIOS chip off, stuck it on my programmer, and although I can't say the contents are exactly correct, what I can say is there are ASCII files in there. You can actually read messages like sector fail and this, that, the other. So it seems to be okay. I read the contents, erased it, wrote them back, it wrote back okay. So the EPROM itself physically seems to be okay, and that's about as far as I could get with this. Yeah, so power's up. Supplies there. Oh, the oscillator. This is 25 meg crystal. This is also running. So everything seems to work. This thing initializes, reads the EPROM, but it won't detect. Okay, and that's where we got with it. So Detlef suggested that we try to reflow the controller.
You know, last chance, last ditch repair here. So for me, this would be really the last possible thing, because. Yeah,
exactly. Are we just going to do the control? We're going to try to reflow these as well.
Yeah, come on, let's give it some heat. Yeah,
let's give it some heat.
Let's cook the board.
Okay, so we're going to cook it and let's see what happens. We're not going to use an oven for this. We are a bit more sophisticated on this channel, at least. So this is my hot air preheater. I was going to say hot hair there for a moment. Hot hair, yeah, the hot air. But you'll notice that this, well, it does kind of sit on there. But we have the plastic here as well. So what I'm going to do is, this is a tray off an old soldering iron stand. I use this with this. I've used it before. This fits just nicely over here. And I can mount this. There's like obviously the indent there for the little foam mat thing, and I can fit this like this, so this is kind of overhanging here, hopefully protect the plastic, but we have no idea if that is really going to be the case.
We're at the point where there's nothing to lose, so if this gets destroyed, it gets destroyed.
Absolutely, there is nothing to lose. Now the heat is coming out here, so if I put this the other way round with the controller near to where the heat is, that may at least get us a better chance. Of course, it doesn't want to stay like that. Of course. Oh, this is always. I'm sure I can find a way of doing this. Let's see. So, yeah. How about like that? It's now in the tray. What do you think?
No, it's the wrong way around.
Now it's the wrong way around. Okay, so this is definitely more complicated than it might seem. I can kind of put it, like that. That seems the best bet. We go like that. Okay, so this goes like that. Okay, so remember, always be careful which way you put your muffins in the oven. Okay, remember this. So we're going to add some flux.
Why not? Yep.
We're going to add some flux. Now, actually, you're going to find most likely that this chip has a big pad underneath it. So we probably can't really help ourselves in this way. It won't assist us by putting flux on, but I'll stick some flux around it anyway, and around here. But these chips, if you look, there's actually a gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PGAs. Yeah.
And if you look on the other side, there's not so many balls on them. Yeah. Don't have much balls these.
Yeah, they don't.
So I think what we can really do here is get flux actually down here. Get a bit of hot air first, and actually get us to flow underneath the chip. Okay. So risking burning my fingers, of course. Risking burning the wire, of course. Let's see if we can actually get the something like that.
So you want to have some flux creeping under the chips.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get flux all the way under the chips. This is a little bit stiff, this one actually is not coming out very well. I think it's got something sort of bit of gungeon, so I'm actually going to put more. We're not going to be particularly shy with the flux on this one. Okay, and we're going to see if we can get us under, and we maybe do it from the other side as well. So once again, I'd move your finger away. Roll some flux underneath. And now, other way around. I've just cleaned my nozzle. Always clean your nozzle before cookery. Yeah?
It's one of these episodes.
It certainly is. So we're going to splat some more of this on here.
That was the technical term.
Splat?
Yeah, splat it on there.
It's a baking term.
Okay.
Okay, a cookery term, a splat. So, right, I do believe we've probably got flux pretty much all the way underneath this. So let's attach a thermocouple and let's see if we can monitor the temperature. Okay, so we can see the workshop and the aircon is on, by the way, but it is summer. About 32 degrees. Yeah, air's about 31 degrees over here. We would be baking without that aircon. And we're going to bake anyway. So I can't get this to stick on, by the way. Too much flux, it won't stick, the cap on won't stick. But what we're going to do is we're going to warm this up, and we're going to take a little while over it and see whether we can actually get this up to melting temperature or not.
So you're not kicking it up to full temp, or
no,
doing a slow ramp?
I'm doing it slow because I need to get heat into all of the PCB. I know it's only small, but I need to get the heat distribute properly through it. And also, people talk about reflowing, but people talk about reflowing like you just put the hot air gun on, but you're not going to flow anything unless you melt the solder. You can't flow solid solder. So what people call reflowing, I think they're just incorrect. They don't understand the term. We need to get this up to about 220, 230 degrees centigrade before the solder will melt. And this probably won't do it with just the preheat. We probably need to have hot air as well.
Okay.
So you can see we're at 60 odd degrees, and there's a temperature gauge on this. So this is not like calibrated. You just turn it up some.
Okay.
And you see what it's doing, it's just flashing the heat on and off. So it's not like pulse width modulation, it's just switching the heater on and off. And it's using the thermal mass of the item to even up the temperature. So you can see 70 odd. We can heat it up a bit faster, but to be honest, it doesn't really gain anything.
Okay.
The thing's only small, so it might move around, which might make life difficult for us. You could try holding it. Wait, yeah, you could try that.
Is there something where I can? I won't touch the. Don't want to touch the controller.
It's a good question, that is, that.
Oh wait, I can probably go there. No, I can't.
Yeah, this is the problem with the fact it's moving. I mean, we could stick it into the little thing there, but then it's not actually on the metal work.
Yeah, no thermocoupling.
So we really need to have it on here. How warm is it now? You see, it's nowhere near, yeah. So we're going to turn the heater up now about 3/4. I really need to solve this moving around problem. I'm not sure how to do it.
Do we have ceramic tweezers? Because they wouldn't so many couple.
We may have some ceramic tweezers. So guys,
signals coming up.
Yeah, I've now turned this up to maximum on the preheater. $150, yeah, I know. We have a recipe for disaster here, I think. Look, they've left us unsupervised again there. Look what happens now.
Ooh, this is toasty.
It's toasty, but you still nowhere near.
Ooh,
160.
Hot fingers here.
Ooh. We're going to have to use hot air to get this up above the temperature where the solder melts. This is not going to do easily, and I'm not going to be able to tap this easily, so I think the only thing I can do here is just to get the thing hot. Yeah. Let's see if the solder always will melt. Okay. Let's come in with some hot air. And we're going to have to kind of like judge when this is actually hot enough to desolder. Normally I would like to kind of tap on the chips a little bit.
Yeah. PCB barbecue.
Yeah.
Which reminds me that you have the new grill on the roof.
I certainly do have a new grill on the roof actually. This is making some smoke, guys.
Yeah.
Can we get them with a thermocouple? 260.
Yeah.
Well, that's the air temperature. Okay, I think we've got enough heat into that. Oh yeah, I'm sure I can see that bottom was moving a little bit. Right.
I think I saw this too, yeah.
I saw it, so I'm going to turn the heat off. So it's now just on blower and it's cooling down. I actually could see this one was floating a little bit. Okay, so we're now on cold air only. Let's cool down and let's see what happens. Okay, so it is cooling down a lot now, guys. It's still hot. 70, 80 degrees, 90 degrees. So we'll just leave it on there on the blower. In fact, what I'm thinking about is if I take the PCB off now, because the solder was obviously solidified, we'll get rid of this chunk of metal because that will be holding a lot of heat.
Thermal mass, indeed. Yeah.
Thermal mass. And we can actually stick this thing now over the cold air. Okay, let it cool some more. So we cooked it. Yeah, we cooked it. I'm sure I can see this bottom one floating around a little bit. Detlef agrees with me on this one. So yeah, do you think this will fix it?
No idea. As I said, last straw. This is at a point. I think you normally won't do this because, you know, chances that you make things worse aren't. There's no chance we can make this worse.
Yeah, true. We cannot make this any worse.
It doesn't work. So there's no harm in trying this out because, you know, sometimes voodoo helps.
Yeah, it's cooling down quite nicely now. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll clean this up with a bit of ISO. We'll have a look under the microscope. So this is what we have. You can't really see from this whether it melted the solder or not, to be honest.
True. I don't see a difference.
No.
Oh.
What? Oh.
It melted the solder.
It melted the solder. Oh.
Ah, dang it.
Oh, dang it. Oh, dear.
Yeah, this was probably hot air that...
This was probably the hot air. Yeah. I think this is not going to be something we should be plugging in.
Nope. Oh, there's a cap somewhere.
I see the capacitor. Yeah. Okay, guys. So when you leave Detlef and myself unsupervised, this is what tends to happen. So we have a capacitor here, which I mean, to be honest, if you had another one and you knew where they came from, it wouldn't be particularly difficult to reposition. Yeah.
Yes, a resistor going rogue.
Yeah, there's two there having a bit of fun together. There's the capacitor. Yeah. Okay, so we certainly melted the solder. Yeah, the problem was there, I think, is because we couldn't get enough heat into this, just from underneath of the preheater. So the airflow blew things around, and that's unusual. It doesn't normally happen to me. Yeah, doesn't normally happen to me. I mean, we could put Kapton tape, but it probably wouldn't stick down. So I think we didn't make that any better.
No, we didn't.
So shall we let the guys see what we did anyway?
Well, yeah, of course.
Okay, guys, so you can see what we did anyway. So we'll think a suitable title to this. What happens when you leave Det and Rich unsupervised, or something like that. What happens when Det wants to do some cooking, because Det doesn't actually cook.
No, and now you know why.
Okay, guys, not a success, but I hope you enjoyed that anyway. And yeah, talk to us down there. Yeah, say what you like, and we look forward to seeing you all soon again on Learning Electronics Be Fair.
Okay.
Ciao for now, guys.
Ciao for now, guys.
Okay, guys, so we talked about that little debacle. That's an English word, quite a good one. That mess up. And Det says, well, this thing actually could still be used. Yeah, and he's right, because we found a great use for it. So things worked out well in the end.
Yeah, these are the local toilet keys, by the way.
Yes. These are the keys to the toilets in the shopping centre, by the way. So if you ever pass in the shopping centre you need to go, you know who to ask. Yeah?
Give me the key with the 4 terabyte.
Aha, okay. Mucho data. Let's go, guys.